And good afternoon, Sal Montes here along with Zay Galindo. We're bringing you Minor Talk. Adrian Broadus stepping out of the booth for today. We're going to hold it down. It's going to be a quick Minor Talk, but we'll just get straight to it. UTEP falling to Western Kentucky on the road. Their last time against Western Kentucky as a visitor to Diddle Arena in Conference USA. I promise all of that has meaning, but yes, their final Conference USA road game in Western Kentucky, and a decent one, you know, for a chunk of it, if you want to put it that way, but Western just too much in the end. They wind up winning by 32. And Zay, I got to be honest, man, at some point when it was like 89 points that they had and they were about to shoot the free throw after the timeout, and I'm like, they could probably crack 100 on UTEP if they really let it fly.
Yeah, they were really close, weren't they? 97 points. I mean, that was an ugly, maybe final 8-10 minutes. After that media timeout, it all just went downhill. And we saw what happened. I mean, this team, they just didn't come to play in that second half at all, you know, and they found themselves in a deep predicament. Look at that. That's a 22-point loss. Like, check that. That's not 22.
That's 32, yeah. It would have been nice to be 22 today, but for a good chunk of it, though, I will say for the Miners, they were kind of able to stay on that fringe single-digit deficit. And I know people could be like, well, you're still losing. I get that. But this is a team who's been down double digits multiple times this year. And despite the amount of wins that they have, a good chunk of them comes from that come from behind fashion. So I was thinking, hey, if they could keep it to maybe 7 points or something around 5 minutes and then get within 5 around 3, they could have a chance, Zay. But Western was not having any of that. Looking at their big three in Hackman with 21, Newell, he gets 25, and the big production from Tegan Moore, I believe he came back from an injury as well. We were talking about that in the pregame. And the big three for Western Kentucky, Zay, 70 points. The Miners finished with 65, but that big three for Western, they were cooking today.
Yeah, they sure were. I mean, you said it there. They outscore UTEP by themselves, and they were just more aggressive. They were hitting shots. They were getting by UTEP defenders. I mean, 4 of 8 from 3 for Grant Newell. Just an all-around great game from him. He's a tough guy to guard. Nobody really they didn't have an answer for him, you know. And you can't get into a track meet, you know, with a team like Western, who, as we can see, they're well capable of scoring 100 points, you know. So that's not UTEP's game. They had to play a better defensive contest, and they just absolutely did not do that. I mean, 49 points given up in that first half, 48 given up in that second half. That's terrible.
Yeah, and you're not going to win a track meet against a team that was able to rout Liberty, the team in Conference USA, who was atop the standings and still are, but were unblemished for a good chunk of their undefeated reign, and Western able to basically blow them out the water the other night in a single-handed fashion. Basically the first half was the whole game there. Western Kentucky playing some of their best basketball, but on the flip side, right, this is Minor Talk. I understand it. We've been talking about Western, but Minor Talk here, and if you want to call in, 915-505-6009. It'll be a brief show today, but for the Miners, just not able to play some of their best basketball when they need it, kind of looking at what they've been doing these last couple of weeks. And I want to say like last week or the week before, hey guys, can we stop bringing up their 5 and whatever against D1 teams? Well, it's kind of heading back in that territory. Zay, out of their last, 7 games, these guys are 2-5 within their last 7 games here, and they've been needing some wins here. I can understand the Liberty one. You fall to the best team in the conference. New Mexico State, I can get that when you're on the road, but this is a road trip that you had to have at least a sweep, and things aren't looking too well for the Miners standings-wise when we bring up the Conference USA standings, and I have them right here again with New Mexico State. They lose, and that's huge for UTEP, but they're 6-12 in Conference USA, but right now they're on that second to last place spot, which isn't good enough for Conference USA. And as far as tiebreakers go, who's the split over? They don't really have splits over unless it's Delaware. And other than that, I don't know who else they've swept throughout Conference USA this season, but they're going to need that overall record, a tiebreaker, if it comes down to it. Or do you know of any other ways that they're breaking down the ties in Conference USA?
Yeah, I think that if it's head-to-head, I'd have to look it up. You know, I know that there's the overall record, overall wins, and then I know that it's the best conference wins. I have to look it up again, but nonetheless, it is looking like it's going to be down to NMSU and UTEP in these final two games because Florida International, they got a big win tonight. Yeah, I think that...
That's right. Yeah, I think it was against Louisiana Tech. Let me pull that up. But let's see here. That one's still going on right now in Florida International as we bring it up. That one just went final, actually. That's weird. It just loaded. But, 84-76. That's huge as far as who can get into the tournament here. And that one on the road Tuesday in Ruston, Louisiana.
Yeah, it's a gutsy win. Out of the three teams that we were talking about, NMSU, UTEP, and FIU, there's only one win in this combined road trip for all. They were all on the road, and FIU gets that huge win to separate themselves from the pack. I mean, they control their destiny, right? All they have to do is, go back home in Miami, take care of business, and they're going to have a spot secured in the Conference USA tournament. So it's tougher for UTEP because I think NMSU does own the tiebreaker at the end of the day, and that means that the Miners are going to need to win all two games if the Aggies only need to win one.
Yeah, and for that, for the Aggies, that's what they have over UTEP, right? Obviously, we know that they split in Conference USA, but that regular season or the non-conference the non-conference play, we should say, well ahead of the conference tourney. But those games are extremely meaningful right now. Yeah, UTEP is able, if you want to put it this way, they can hang with some of the teams in Conference USA, but at the end of the day, they're in a spot where it's the overall body of work, and just to be even 500 in this conference is a blessing if you're on the outside looking in. Definitely not looking good for the Miners, but they'll have Kennesaw State. That one on it's a CBS Sports Network broadcast as well. That one on March 5th at 7 o'clock for that one, and the finale here on March 7th against Jacksonville State, who's going to make the tournament. They're kind of bunched, around that same area as Kennesaw State. So those are teams who could be trying to get better seeding. But at the end of the day, Zay, is it possible that UTEP could try and catch some of these teams slipping?
Maybe, but they're got to have them games. I think that's where UTEP has the upper hand. I wouldn't say that Kennesaw State and Jack State are unmotivated, but UTEP has so much more reason to be motivated, right? You're playing for your season. Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State, I mean, they're not going to be the 1 seed, right? They could fight maybe to get into that 3 seed, somewhere around there, but their fate is kind of sealed when it comes to seeding in the Conference USA tournament. I wouldn't say they're going to be unmotivated. Like, it's a regular game for them. They're going to want to win. They're going to do everything they can to win. But for UTEP, you have reason. This is it. You're at home. You have to have these next 2 games. You got to go out there and get it. So I think that they can. They can, maybe catch one of them slipping. But they're going to have to catch both, right?
Yeah, they're definitely going to need to catch both because just as much as we're talking about New Mexico State, right, although UTEP does have the tiebreaker over Delaware, Delaware could have a chance to, hypothetically, right, let's just throw it out there. Let's say they get the sweep, and this is extremely wishful thinking, but let's just say in some crazy world, at home, they get the win over Sam Houston and Louisiana Tech, who are already locks for the Conference USA tournament. And then let's just say UTEP doesn't win any games this week at the Haskins Center. That would mean that the Miners, they may stay, in the bottom 2 and finally go to that, that final spot at the end of the conference rankings, if you want to put it that way. But for the Miners, man, they have not been playing some of their best basketball these last couple of weeks, and it's a time that they've really needed it. And today, unfortunately, it was we got to see what it was like when Elijah Jones doesn't pitch in. I mean, for maybe 32 minutes, I felt like, man, if Elijah Jones just gets a bucket, they can get, some motivation. But unfortunately, they just ran out of time, and Elijah Jones fouling out with 0 points today.
Yeah, I mean, he just wasn't on. It wasn't his day. No points, 0-4 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3 from beyond the arc. I mean, you can usually count on him to get in a couple, right? He's going to get his buckets,
for sure. And
he just didn't. He kind of just disappeared, and he was there at the wrong times. And I mean that by he ends up fouling out. So they're calling his name for all the wrong reasons. I give him some credit. He's had a great season so far, but today easily his worst game of the year, and they needed him. They needed him when that game was bubbling right there between UTEP possibly cutting it into single digits to whatever the heck happened after, right? That ends up losing 32 points.
Yeah, and a good reason for Western Kentucky kind of just being able to do whatever they want. They were just flexing that muscle, man. 46 points in the paint for Western Kentucky, as opposed to UTEP just getting 18 on the day this afternoon. And for Western Kentucky, playing big, it kind of reminds me of this. Kind of like in football, when you use the run to kind of set up the rest of your game, you can do play action, RPO, whatever the case is. That's what it was kind of like for Western Kentucky, them being able to play down low, attracting more attention when they were getting near the hoop, and, they dish it out to the open man. Really, really good style for Western today.
Yeah, I like the way that they played. They played nice, and they're a good team. They're a streaking team. They're hot at the right time. This is when you want to peak, right? Going into March, and that's exactly what they're doing. You have, I think that's 3, maybe 4 straight wins for them, including a win over Liberty. They took care of business this weekend against New Mexico State and now UTEP. So that's a team to watch. Hank Plona has those guys playing, and I can see them making some noise in that conference tournament.
Oh, definitely. I think so. And while we're at the top of the conference tournament, let's go ahead and pull up the Conference USA standings. I was just looking at them not too long ago. This is what it looks like as of now at this point in time. Maybe there could be a change or two as some of these other games finish before the end of the show. But number one, and they're pretty much going to finish Conference USA regular season champions. It is Liberty, first place, Sam Houston. Second place, Western Kentucky, just a step behind them, or I don't want to say just a step. They're 1.5 games behind them, so a little bit further than I thought. But Western Kentucky, those are your likely top 3 seeds, and this is where it gets a little bit sticky. Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, both tied for, in theory, right, for 4th place. Kennesaw having the tiebreaker by overall record, and then just below them, it's Louisiana Tech and Middle Tennessee at 9-9, and it's so close for those two teams, right? And this is what separates them. La Tech being 16-13 and Middle Tennessee being 15-14. So Middle getting the win in overtime today, that's huge for them. And then Louisiana Tech losing to Florida International could have Middle Tennessee trying to jump up a spot. And then after that, everything is kind of free range. Missouri State, FIU, and New Mexico State, all of those 3 ahead. And UTEP second to last place with Delaware in last place. But UTEP, New Mexico State tied at 6-12. Zay, I don't want to say it, but every March we get to see some really, really solid conference tournament play. No matter who it is, I need to know, is there going to be a team sub 500 that hoists the Conference USA Championship trophy? Or did we kind of just get a taste of what it was like playing against the top teams with Liberty, Sam Houston, and Western Kentucky this last stretch?
Yeah, I do think that the top 3 have definitely kind of distanced themselves, and they're for sure going to finish over 500, but everyone else below them, has a chance or will finish below 500. So maybe Kennesaw State gets hot. Maybe they drop these next 2 games, MSU and UTEP, end up, 9-10 on the year. I can see that happening. Louisiana Tech, that's always going to be a team to watch out for. I like Missouri State. At 7-10. That would be my wild card hot pick. If I had to not pick one of the big 3, I'd go Missouri State.
Okay, you know what? I like it. Missouri State able to play some of their better basketball at the beginning of Conference USA. A little bit on a downward trend, 6 in a row. But I mean, hey, as long as you get in the tournament, that's really all that matters. So we're just talking foolishness, trying to turn college hoops 2K8 into real life with all of these sims and stuff. But no, UTEP falling to Western Kentucky today, 97-65. We'll run off some numbers for the Miners. KJ Thomas finishing with 7 points today, 4 for 4 from the charity stripe in 26 minutes. He also gets a block. That's right, KJ Thomas with a block and a pair of steals, 3 assists, only 2 turnovers. So great job from KJ with that play. Caleb Blackwell, a dark horse today, man, able to kind of just be that aggressive guy and silent leader. I want to put it that way. 14 points, 5 for 9, 2 for 6 from beyond the line, and 2 for 2 from the charity stripe. And I mean, Caleb Blackwell able to provide some spark there, but plus minus would say otherwise. I know it says minus 30, but at points when they needed some buckets, he was able to deliver there. Kasim Watson Watson, 15 points. Jamal West, 22 points. That may be the hero of the day. 7 for 11 from the field, 2 for 3 beyond the arc, 6 of 13 from the charity stripe, 7 boards. I mean, I can go on and on. But unfortunately, Zay, those 4 guys having a chunk of UTEP's points. If I want to do the math here, let's see, that's 7. I think that's like 58 points from those 4. And everybody else, either a goose egg or close to a goose egg. I know guys got in near the end, but you definitely need a lot more, especially against a team like Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, off the bench, I only see seven bench points. That's bad. Trey Horton, 0 of 4 from the field, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc. I mean, he just can't get his shot going. We thought it was a slump. It's not a slump. It's just the season it's been for him. It's been a bad year. Has not shot well at all. He pitched in with a couple of free throws. Mohamed Bai, I think he was probably the MVP of the bench. He had three free throws. He drained 3 free throws, 3 or 4 from the line, 5 rebounds, and the plus-minus stat, he had the best on the team, only a -2. So in 12 minutes, he did what he needed to do. He's the only one, right? He's the only guy that really did what they needed to do, because everyone else, at least off the bench, did not look good at all. Maybe Bobby Montgomery had a bucket, but didn't play much. Just when I look at this team, they're so top-heavy that, if all 5 guys, KJ, Caleb, Kasim, Jamal, and Elijah, if those guys aren't firing, you're not going to win. All 5 of those guys need to touch near double digits. And I know they had 3 double-digit scores right here, but that's it, right? Then the next guy was KJ with 7, and then after that, it's Mohamed Bai with 3. You can't be like that. You need to have everybody firing when you're built like this, especially offensively, because they're not a good defensive team. They're not going to shoot the ball. They're not going to shoot the ball lights out. I mean, they had 8 threes, but this team is it's not built for winning the way it's just not. They can't compete for 40 minutes against good teams, and we're seeing that here.
And this is a point of the season where I think the teams start to separate themselves, not only with how they're playing and how they're looking, but more importantly, the numbers. And Western Kentucky just, big routes within these last couple of weeks, and they've been roaring, especially, having Tegan Moore back. That's really going to help. He's 8 for 10 today. That's one of the top players, to watch when he's on fire. But UTEP just needing these wins these last couple of weeks, and I know that some of the teams they've played have been near that top half of Conference USA, but at the end of the day, any team could be matched up against one of those guys in the conference tournament. You still got to be able to bring it. And unfortunately for the Miners, when they've needed wins the most, I understand getting Jacksonville the other week and even New Mexico State at home was all fine and dandy. However, that was a couple of weeks ago. The season has to go on. Western Kentucky really playing well and the Miners not playing well tonight. And you saw it being outscored by Western Kentucky's Big Three, 70-65. But we move forward. UTEP will be back at it next week. And for the Miners, Zay, are there any lineup changes that you're looking to see, or do you think everything's kind of been exhausted at this point?
Yeah, I think that we've seen it all. We've exhausted everything. I think regardless of how good or bad they play on a night-to-night basis, KJ Thomas, Caleb Blackwell, Kasim Watson, and Jamal West, and Elijah Jones, that's your starting 5, no matter what. I don't think in any world you can replace anyone off the bench with any of those guys. I mean, that's just what it is. They give you the best chance to win night in and night out, and I know that's not saying much the way that UTEP has played, but yeah, I don't anticipate anything drastic happening in these final 2 games.
Yeah, and also too, we've seen a good chunk of this lineup throughout the season, regardless, whether it was a big win or a big loss. There's at least some consistency in that part. But for UTEP, up next Thursday against Kennesaw State, and just kind of going over the scores here in Conference USA as we bring them up. And I promise you I'll have those up in a bit. But Kennesaw State, as far as their record goes, and then Jacksonville State will be on Saturday. Both of those at home. So the Miners in their final Conference USA road game in the regular season, they'll now have some final home games in Conference USA. And before I get to the Conference USA standings as well, I do want to talk about something that we may or may not touch on next week on Miner Talk, but something I'm excited about, Zay, and we've kind of briefed it a bit, but one of my favorite things to do at the end of the season is like, what's my favorite moment for this team, or who's my favorite player from another team, whatever it is. But I can't wait, Zay, and I hope we do this, but I really, really want us to do our favorite players to watch in Conference USA on the basketball side. We talked about it on football. It was some really, really great names. I liked Matt Forte, Chris Johnson. But for basketball, I think there's an obvious pick. I think there's a consensus obvious pick. But we'll get to that when it comes. But Zay, do you have a couple of that you want to mention, or do you want to hold off on it?
I'm ready to save them. I know this is UTEP's last road game in Conference USA, but I'm ready for that last conference game because chances are, it will be like the finale, like final conference game, regular season conference tournament, because UTEP might not make that conference tournament, right? So I'm ready. I'm going to save those names for that last game. We've been hyping it up. We've been hyping that Miner Talk.
We have to do it, man.
Like, we're going to be on the air for that one for like at least an extra hour, just guys naming dudes. Like, seriously.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's going to be super exciting, but we'll get there when we get there. It could be next week. Maybe it's over spring break. Time will tell, but we'll definitely have something for you. Let's go over to the Conference USA scoreboard. I was trying to pull that up earlier, and here we have it. Kennesaw State leads Delaware. So my theory earlier is kind of just thrown in the trash now, but that's okay. Kennesaw State doubling up on Delaware 50-25 as the first half comes to a close. 50-25, Kennesaw State leads the Blue Hens. Now, Missouri State, they're on the road at Sam Houston, 12-9, and Sam Houston with the lead here. 13 minutes left in the first half. Elsewhere in Conference USA, though, we'll get to a quick recap. Middle Tennessee defeats New Mexico State. Big win that will help UTEP. Middle Tennessee defeating New Mexico State 86-85. Florida International gets a win here, and they're fighting to stay alive, 84-76. They get the win over Louisiana Tech, and of course, we mentioned it earlier, Western Kentucky at home over UTEP, 97-65. Later on, though, probably like in 10 minutes or so, Liberty at Jacksonville State in Jacksonville. That one should be a good one. Jacksonville State 9-8 in Liberty, 2 losses in Conference USA now. So I think that bug is already out of their system. Who knows? Maybe Liberty with 2 losses is better than Liberty with no losses in Conference USA. We'll find out. But Zay, as we approach the game coming up on Thursday for UTEP, Kennesaw State, what are some things you're looking forward to seeing that can potentially kick off a Miners' final spot that they can seal?
Yeah, they're going to need to have their big 3 step up. All need to be probably over 12 points. And this courtesy of our, friend of the show, friend of the program, Steve Escaeda, he chimes in with the Conference USA tiebreaker rules. So, yeah, the first tiebreaker
Thank you, Steve.
is head-to-head, which UTEP and NMSU split. And then the next one is which team had a win over the highest-ranked common opponent in conference play. And so their best conference win is, essentially.
Wow.
And for NMSU, it's Sam Houston, who they were able to beat at home. UTEP, they don't have anything better than the Sam Houston win. So NMSU does have that tiebreaker over the Miners.
Wow. Okay. And you know what? Let's say it was even like, let's say the theory that I had of overall record, they would still have it. So they got they're not in the world of help right now. But UTEP, we'll see what they can do. Kennesaw State coming up on Thursday as the Miners kick off their final Conference USA homestand. And for UTEP, Kennesaw State up next, and then Jacksonville State on Saturday. That's an afternoon tip-off. It says 1 o'clock, so I know there was a time change. I think it was mentioning like 2 o'clock somewhere earlier throughout the year, but just a quick update. It is moved up to 1 o'clock p.m. on Saturday for their Conference USA regular season finale. So that's what's to come for the UTEP Miners. But Zay, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Any final thoughts?
Disappointing loss. You never want to lose by 32 in a conference game, and that's the sentiment of this season, and I guess the sentiment of UTEP's time in Conference USA as a whole. It felt like a 32-point loss. No conference championships, terrible on the road, terrible overall for the program, and I think that it's a bittersweet goodbye, right? We had so many fun memories in this conference, but none really great. Definitely fun, none really great. So, yeah, this team they just didn't come to play, shooting 17% from the field or from three in the second half, 31% from the field in the second half. Get this, 59%, allowing a 59% field goal percentage for Western Kentucky throughout the whole game. That's not winning basketball. So, tough game. I'm turning my head now to the women's side of things. They're still fighting, still in the hunt for a Conference USA tournament spot. They're having a big game against Kennesaw State right now. Miners lead. You can catch this one at the Haskins Center if you're anywhere nearby. About 4 minutes remaining in that. They need this game. They came from behind against Jacksonville State, looking to do the same against Kennesaw. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the stats here, and that's good that you mentioned it, right? UTEP 3 games in a row that they've won, playing some of their best basketball of the season at a point when they really need it, 79-72. This is what kicked it off. Delaware on Valentine's Day, then a 69-58 win over New Mexico State. That would seal the tiebreaker. And Jacksonville State, you're right, this one, the pink game and the Black History game, 66-64. That one over Jacks. And this one tonight, Kennesaw State. And pulling up the stats here, that's right, 53-52. 3:38 left, UTEP with the 1-point lead, and kind of looking at who's doing damage. It's Adams and it's Bengay. So, man, this could be huge for the Miners.
It can be, and, they came from behind against Jacksonville State. They were down 8 points with about 2 minutes remaining. Huge come-from-behind victory, ended up on a 10-0 run to seal that. It was a Heaven Samoya Mathis pull-up jumper from the free throw line, and now they have a chance to beat Kennesaw State. They're on a 7-0 run right now, and when you look at this Owls team, this Kennesaw State team destroyed UTEP on the road just about a month ago. They really put that belt, putting it lightly. Keith Adams was extremely disappointed in her team's effort that game, and just to see how quickly that they've turned around from that loss to now reeling off 3 straight wins. They're firing at the right time, similar to Western Kentucky. They're getting hot in March, and they're still fighting for their season, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's going to be real exciting to see, and just kind of pulling up the Conference USA standings on the women's side. Clear front runner, nobody's catching up to them. That's the Lady Texters. They're a 15-game win streak as well, by the way, 15-1 in Conference USA, and after that first loss in conference play, they're pretty much running away with it. Missouri State second, and FIU third, and only one game separates, or a half game separates those two teams, and it is Missouri State with the tiebreaker, 18-11 overall. FIU 17-10, but right after that, Middle, Liberty, Sam Houston, Jacksonville State, Delaware, and UTEP just on the inside right now. That's a huge win for them, and if they can get the win over Kennesaw, who in theory is just like a half game behind them, but they're 2 spots behind them as well. This is a big game here. So as far as UTEP women's basketball goes, currently 53-52, about 2.5 left. But that's pretty much going to do it. We'll have Miner Talk back again on Thursday as UTEP takes on Kennesaw State. But once again, UTEP falling to Western Kentucky on the road, 97-65. You've been listening to Miner Talk on 600 ESPN El Paso. Shout out to Zay. Shout out to Adrian. We'll have the whole crew back in a couple of days. But once again, Miner Talk right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.